In business, inventory is usually considered an asset. It sits on a balance sheet. It represents potential. It represents asterisk profit asterisk. But in March of 2023, for one company, inventory became a cancer. This is not a recycling center. This is a graveyard. Funko, the purveyors of pop culture, the company that promised to put a vinyl figurine on every desk in America, made a calculation. They realized that holding on to their own product cost more than the product was worth. So, they took $30 million worth of inventory plastic that will not degrade for 500 years, and they buried it in the desert. It was the modern equivalent of burning the furniture to keep the house warm. But the house was already freezing. They told us they were selling collectibles. They told us this was the new baseball card, the new gold standard of fandom. But looking at the crushed boxes in the Arizona dirt, the truth is obvious. They weren't selling culture. They were selling oil byproducts to adults desperate for nostalgia. And when the nostalgia ran out, the landfill was the only customer left. To understand the burial, we have to understand the birth. Funko wasn't always a corporate monster. It started in 1998 in a garage in Snohomish, Washington. It was niche. It was quirky. It was founded by Mike Becker for people who loved bobbleheads of obscure advertising mascots. Then came Brian Mariotti. He bought the company in 2005 and saw something no one else did. He realized that fandom wasn't a niche. It was a renewable resource. He secured licenses for everything, not just Star Wars. Asterisk everything. Asterisk Golden Girls, The Office, obscure horror movies, cereal boxes, politicians. If it existed in the public consciousness for more than 5 minutes, Mariotti turned it into vinyl. And it worked. God, did it work. For a brief moment in history, Funko cracked the code of dopamine. They created the chase, variant intentionally rare figures mixed into standard shipments. They weaponized FOMO fear of missing out. They turned purchasing a $12 toy into a treasure hunt. Grown men were fist-fighting in Target parking lots over a glow-in-the-dark Pickle Rick, but the cracks were there from the start. When Funko went public in 2017, Wall Street laughed. The stock tanked immediately. The bankers saw what the fans didn't. This is a fad. This is Beanie Babies 2.0 with bigger heads. But then, the pandemic happened. Locked inside, flush with stimulus cash, and desperate for serotonin, the world turned to collecting. Funko's stock didn't just recover. It exploded. They felt invincible. They thought the line would go up forever. But they forgot the most basic rule of economics. Scarcity creates value. And Funko was about to flood the world. There is a specific villain in this story. It isn't a person. It's a strategy. It's called the Flywheel of Death. Most companies have a focus. Nike makes shoes. Apple makes tech. Funko's strategy became volume as a substitute for innovation. By 2022, Funko had thousands of licenses. This sounds good on paper, but in reality, it meant they had to produce inventory for all of them. They weren't just making Batman. They were making the barista who served Batman coffee in issue #42. They were manufacturing products for fans that didn't exist. This leads us to the SKU ratchet. Every new character is a new stock-keeping unit, a new mold, a new box, a new supply chain headache. When you have 10 products, you can manage inventory. When you have 10,000 products, your warehouse becomes a labyrinth of dead capital. Then, the fatal blow. They tried to move their distribution center to Buckeye, Arizona, and upgrade their software system simultaneously. In the corporate world, a botched ERP integration is a death sentence. Funko lost track of what they had. They were shipping the wrong boxes. They were losing containers. And while the software was blind, the factories kept printing. Management was addicted to the sell-in metric. They celebrated shipping product to retailers like Walmart and GameStop. But they ignored the sell-through. The retailers weren't selling the pops, they were storing them. And eventually, Walmart said, "No more. Let's look at the crime scene photos." The financial statements? Late 2022, inventory levels exploded by 48% year over year. At the same time, cash on hand plummeted. Do the math. They spent all their cash making plastic that nobody bought. Their days sales of inventory, the time it takes to turn a product into cash, skyrocketed. They were holding products for months, paying rent on them, paying insurance on them. This is called carrying cost, and it was eating them alive from the inside out. And what was the leadership doing while the ship took on water? They were rearranging the deck chairs. They launched Funko NFTs, digital receipts for JPEGs of plastic toys. They launched Snapsies. They launched candy. Instead of fixing the core rot, they tried to innovate their way out of a logistics crisis. They bought Mondo, a beloved high-end poster company, and immediately gutted it, firing the founders and alienating the hardcore fan base. This was the final red flag. When a company starts eating its own acquisitions to hide its lack of organic growth, the end is near. By the time the Q4 2022 earnings call arrived, the warehouses were full. The retailers were full. The landfill was the only open mouth left to feed. November 3rd, 2022, the day the music stopped. Funko slashed its outlook. The stock lost half its value before the market even opened for lunch. The board panicked. Brian Mariotti, the returning king, was out again. A revolving door of executives entered, each one cutting deeper than the last. Then came the layoffs. First 10%, then another 12%, then 20%. The creative teams, the people who actually designed the toys, were let go. The Mondo team, decimated. The marketing team, gutted. In 2025, the headquarters in Everett, Washington, feels less like a funhouse and more like a mausoleum. They tried to raise prices. A standard pop went from $10 to $12, then $15. In a global cost of living crisis, asking $15 for 4 inches of non-articulated vinyl is not a business strategy. It is arrogance. The secondary market crashed. Flippers, the people who artificially drove up demand, left the game. A pop that sold for $100 in 2021 is now struggling to fetch $10 on eBay. The debt is coming due. Funko is now servicing hundreds of millions in debt with shrinking revenue. They are in the death spiral. To pay the debt, they need to sell inventory. To sell inventory, they need to discount it. If they discount it, they devalue the brand. If they devalue the brand, nobody buys it. There is a profound irony in the name pop. A pop is a burst, a sudden expansion. But it is also the sound a bubble makes when it bursts. Funko thought they were selling collectibles, but they were actually selling a moment in time. And time moves on. The $30 million of plastic in the Arizona desert will outlast the company that made it. It will outlast the shareholders who demanded it. It will outlast us. Future archaeologists will dig up these landfills. They will find millions of identical plastic figures with big heads and no mouths. And they will ask the same question the shareholders are asking today. Why did we think we needed so many of these?